What's going on, it's the RapNerd, and I'm here today to talk about ScHoolboy Q's latest album called Blue Lips. I'm a huge ScHoolboy Q fan. I've loved every single project he's done, so I was excited that he's finally coming back outside with a new project. And I love this joint too, but I have to say, initially, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I didn't like it. I was confused because the structure in this album is extremely loose. The most loose it's been for all of his albums. Like usually with a ScHoolboy Q album, it's song, 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 and he might have maybe one or two joints that break the structure where it'll be like two songs in one, like on Oxymoron, the title track on Oxymoron. But here there's like very, very loose structure. I mean, each song at minimum, the beat changes at least once. And that's like, at least there's some songs where the beat changes 3 different times. And it just threw me for a loop with what was going on, because when I play a record, right, for the first time, I remember listening to it. It's playing in my car. I'll look at the track list when a new song comes on. Like I can, like when I hear it switch, I'll look like, okay, it's the next record. But listening, the beat switches and I'm looking like, whoa, wait, this is the same song? Okay. Switches to a different song and I'm like, okay, different song. Then it switches in the middle of that and I'm like, wait, new song? No, it's the same song. And it just kept doing that over and over throughout. And I was, I'm telling you, like when the album ended, I was just sitting in my seat like, I don't know what's going on. I re-listened one more time and that's when it kind of clicked after knowing what I was getting. And it's definitely a more loose structure, and I look at this album as Q's artistic experimentation album because of what he did, and I love it just the same. We all know Q has the boom bap sample production in him, and he also has bangers, and sometimes he would like intertwine the two, and I would just be confused at like what was going on, because when it comes to listening to an album, I'm really listening for the way it flows, the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys, and how we get from point A to Z. But here it's like point A, point D, back to B, back to E, like it's kind of all over the place, but still contained in a way to where it makes sense, and you really get the sense of it being contained chaos after listening to it for a few times. So I will say, you may not appreciate it the first time you listen to it, but if you are a ScHoolboy Q fan, give it a rewind because it actually is a great album. To me, this is like a gangster speakeasy, not in the sense of like the mafia, but like in the sense of gangbanging, because a lot of these beats are very, very jazzy. He has records where it's no beat, it's just a nice soul sample or just keys from a piano sample playing that really give me that speakeasy vibe, and that's kind of what made me really like it even more after listening to it a few more times, right? So I'm gonna go through the tracks and just get my thoughts on each one. Short-winded, some long-winded, but I just want to talk about the record. Funny Guy starts with this very, very atmospheric, dreamy sample just playing, no beat, and Q doesn't even rap on this. He's just like kind of harmonizing. You can hear his voice in the background just mixing with the beat. One of the things that you do hear, he's like, with the dope for the hoes and the money bags, nigga, for the dope and the hoes. And even that little piece of music in here is extremely catchy. So we get that song, and then it goes into pop, which again starts differently. The first piece of it sounds like it's a guitar riff almost, or a bass riff that reminds me of the Eminem record with Pink, Won't Back Down. I kind of get that from the beginning, but then it switches over to this gangster kind of slow tempo, hard hitting beat where Q gets super aggressive. There's a bar he said, he was like, hit that boy and spill that yolk. And like, I love that bar, and just his conviction in the bars he did rhyme. He didn't even rhyme for that much because he spits and then it goes to a hook that's just super aggressive. And then Rico Nasty jumps on there, and I've heard her before, but her voice kind of threw me off because I was like, who is this? And I wasn't expecting it, but the more I listened to it, she really fits the record, especially the kind of music she makes. I mean, she's like, punk hip hop in a sense, grunge hip hop in the way she does her vocals, even the way she dresses and all that. So her punkness adds a lot to the record, and I just love the version of the hook when she does it. It just gets me super hyped. I'm pulled in by this aggressive nature of what's going on here, right? So, oh yeah, I'm looking at my laptop, so you keep seeing me look over. I'm looking at track listing and that kind of thing. And then we get to one of my favorite records on the album called Thank God For Me. And this is another one that threw me for a loop just because of the way the beat switches. And he does a lot of this on a lot of the records where the track will start with this soul sample, but when the actual beat drops, it's just trap and aggressive and just hard hitting. And I was not expecting that at all at first listen, but after listening and knowing it's coming, it just makes the drop that much harder. So it opens up with this like sample that's, you know, kind of like, for me it sounds like morning, like a sunrise in a sense, the way that the horns play in the sample. But then it just switches over completely with a chicken head sample in the beat, which I was not expecting. Like, holy sh! And just the bounce is crazy. And you know, when Q is on these kind of beats, the bounce and the jump is just super wicked, and he knows how to ride these beats well. And some of the best melodics from the album, and it's so memorable. Like, I love that hook. Thank God for me, all my bitches gonna ride for me. And he just enters so many different pockets, and this song is a easy example of what makes Q so special. The pockets he finds are crazy. He's a dude that I never know what he's gonna say. It's always listening like out for like, what's the next bar? What's the next bar? Where is he gonna land? And I just love that he does that on his record. And one of my favorite parts of the song is when the sample comes back in along with the trap beat. It's just, oh, it's so hard. And he's like, if I go right now, I'm fine. If I die right now, I'm fine. Mirror at home, I'm fine. Like, I love the way he flipped them bars. This song to me is just a celebration of yourself, and that's why I love that record. And then we slow things down on the next track, Blue Sides, which is what I was talking about, but the speakeasy vibe. Like, I just feel like I'm in a club, a jazz club, like smoking a cigarette and with a cognac in my hand, just watching ScHoolboy on stage performing, because he's just giving up a whole lot of himself and a lot of gems he's dropping. Like, one line he was like, well, sometimes you gotta be a deadbeat if the kids wanna eat. I love the feel of this record. Then we get into Yearn 101, and honestly, I like this song more within the album than I did initially, because he put this out as a single, but I kind of was like, I can't find the pocket, because the drum pattern is very unique to what the standard hip hop pattern is. It's literally just like doom, 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 doom. This beat wouldn't work if it weren't for ScHoolboy Q's flow. Like, that constant flipping and adapting to the beat, especially when he starts to get like on a fast triple time. Then they come outside. That is what pulled me into the song even more when he started rapping like that. And even at the end, when the beat kind of slows down and you get the trap drums that we're used to getting, I feel like it works way more in pocket with the album. So I really like that record too. Next is Lovebirds. This is a song that I really don't like that much. I tried to get myself into it, but I don't really feel it like that. So this one is the only skip for me on the album, really. And one of the things about Lovebirds, the switch up in the beat just threw me for a loop. So initially listening to that record, not really feeling it, and then going into the next joint, Movie, I was confused as hell. I was like, what is going on here? Like, who is this dude rapping? Who is this? I'm thinking ScHoolboy got a verse, and he doesn't even have a verse. You know, it's just his man's rapping. At the time, I didn't hate it, but I was just kind of like, who is this? But now, re-listening to it, you know, knowing what I know about it, I actually like this record. I love that it's like the most West Coast sounding joint on here. Like, you could definitely get your vocal onto this, and this man with that heavy accent, it's just a vibe, honestly, this song. So I do like Movie. It's just long enough to get the energy going, but I feel like it's short on purpose because it's not really much depth to this song. So I do like it as kind of like an interlude record. And then we get the Cooties, which kind of slows it down some. And to me, this record kind of feels like ScHoolboy still trying to accept what he's been able to accomplish, because he even has a bar in here. He was like, why did God bless me? I feel like I didn't deserve it, but still just accepting it because it's just is what it is. And even the tone of his voice in each bar is kind of questioning everything that's going on. Look at my house on the hill. That mountain is real. My accountant is thrilled. What am I? Like, it's questionary the way he's speaking to himself. It just sounds really good over this instrumental. And then we get to Ohio, which is one of my favorite records. Like, this joint has 3 beat switch ups, which is crazy to me. The production is just fire. I love it. It starts with like this soul sample without a kick in it, and you know, ScHoolboy with the harmonization, stacking up my O's like Ohio. And then it switches over again with the same kind of tone of the sample, but there is a up in pace because of the kick in the beat. And of course, ScHoolboy kicks his flow up, and he has a bar here that makes me laugh every time. He says, "Nigga, your bitch got a negative ass." As I'm getting into that joint, it switches again to another soul sample that's just so fire. Like, wow. And ScHoolboy raps and Freddie Gibbs offers up another verse. And then it goes into another favorite of mine called Foe. As soon as I saw the feature of Ab-Soul, I was like, oh, this got to be Druggies and Hoes Part 4. And as soon as it comes on, I love that sample. Like, man, that sample is so dark and eerie. And it fits the series of tracks. Like every time they do one of these joints, the beat is kind of like strange-ish and dark, and it just works so dope. But I even love that Solo put that in there. Marijuana, hydro, CO, ass titties. Like I love that they keep doing this and bringing us back. Then we move on to first in this hard hitting trap banger with bounce that we know ScHoolboy Q to have, and the beat switches up in the second half, kind of changing the whole tone of the first half of the song. And I wonder who is that on the hook? I need to look that up. Let me see. Who's that? Damn, nobody knows, bruh. So I tried to look it. I don't see anybody saying anything about a sample, so I don't know who that is saying that, but that shit is hilarious to me. It sound like it came from somebody either clowning or somebody crying or some shit. I saw a comment that said that the second half is psychedelic, and that's exactly how I feel. Kind of feels like you pop something, and it just changes completely, and even his voice inflection changes on that. And then we go to Nunu, which is another melodic song where he ain't really rapping, kind of like Funny Guy. It's a nice slow down and reset, if you will. And again, his harmonizing is very, very catchy. It kind of feels like you're just floating, and I guess that's why it is after first, because you know the marriage of those sounds really work well to keep the floating feeling of euphoria. So that as a vibe, I do like it. Then we get to one of the singles, Back in Love, which I feel like is fire. And then he adds, I guess, the guy who was on the hook. He gives him a verse on the first verse, Devin Malik, and I do think that he adds to the song. That's a good thing about a lot of these features on here. They actually make the song good. And of course, more of that song, the better. And I already spoke about that in another video, so I don't want to stay on this one too long. Then we get to another one of my favorite joints produced by The Alchemist, Lost Times, and yet another one that's just jazzy and has that speakeasy feel to it. And this song for me kind of is like a memorial to people in his neighborhood and his neighborhood about all of the things lost just growing up here. And I love that the hook with, I think her name is Jazzy. I love that hook, man. Riding the piano keys the way they did, it just really feels like a lighters in the air song. Like I could see him performing this, you know, in concert, and this is one of them joints where everybody puts their cell phones up and he darkens the light. So it just feels like a very memorial-esque record, and I love that, man. Love that sample too. And then we get to German 86, and I just like that this is kind of the biography of him and, you know, when he was born, and kind of just giving flowers to his mom. Saying my superhero, a woman, talking about his mom and that she fought for the war and they just sent her ass back to the hood, having a baby, you know, showing no cares or anything, but yet and still they came out on top. So I really like that joint. Then we jump into Time Killers, which is, I feel like a statement of him trying to escape demons to keep his time. And I really like the beat. It almost sounds like something up Kanye's alley when he is like rapping. I just like how he sounds over it. Then we get to one of the hardest bangers on this album, Pig Feet. It's such a simplistic hook, but with the right energy, it just takes things to a next level. And this joint took off like a rocket. I just get hyped every time I hear this record. I was working out to it and I almost hit a PR listening to this joint, man. Banging ass beat, simple hook, ScHoolboy Q dancing over it. I mean, what more could you want? Love it, love it. And then we get to the last record called Smile, which is him just kind of going back and forth of like, even on the low days, blessed. He literally says it in a bar. This is a big record for me personally because I just think about now, 2024, just how incredibly difficult things are for a lot of people. And it kind of just makes me feel blessed myself. Like even in my harder days, I look in the mirror, look around, and you know, everything that I have, and I just smile, you know, like honestly, I'm literally the happiest I've ever been in like the past 4 years, literally, you know, coming out of the pandemic. So this is what this record makes me think about, and it's a perfect ending to the joint. It's only a minute long. It doesn't overstay. It gets the point and mood across, and it's just out. And he even goes like, "That's it." So Blue Lips, love this record. And ironically, Blue Lips, what he's referencing in the album, means to be shocked into speechlessness. And that's kind of how I was my first listen. I was just like, what? Ran that joint back. I totally changed it. I was like, oh, this is dope, because it's still ScHoolboy at the end of the day. You get what you get, what we've always gotten, and we also get more content. And that's kind of what I like about the album even more, is because it's less gangster and more grown man Q giving his real life and giving himself, and he's on a different tier, and you hear his growth as a man. And I love this new age of hip hop that's growing, talking about adult shit. There's a whole bunch of stuff on this album that I can relate to and see eye to eye with him. And I just really love grown man hip hop, period. So let me know in the comments what you think about Blue Lips. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you have the same kind of conniption that I had after listening to it a second time? Pick your words kindly. And if you like this kind of content, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. Until next time, peace.
RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy.